Hi folks, it's Sarah here and it's the end of week 6 and we've actually got a lot to get through today. So what we're going to go through today is I've got some blood test results. So I'm going to go through those and what that sort of means in terms of my diet and what I'm going to do. And then I've realised that I really haven't explained how I actually put together my food to make it really, really easy to actually reduce calories without too much sort of weighing, measuring and tracking kind of stuff. So we'll just dive into those two, and then of course there'll be some photographs, so we'll put the photographs up as well. Okay, so let's dive into how I set up my food and just put it on a plate. So it's very, very easy without weighing, measuring, counting and tracking. What I did actually write yonks ago, probably about 5 years ago now, when I was doing my blogging, I wrote a post on my Lego diet, and that's exactly how I think of all of my food. Is what I do is I think of things in terms of chunks. So my protein is a chunk of protein, my vegetables are chunks of vegetables, and my fats are chunks of fats. So what I do at the moment to make sort of prep very, very easy, I do everything in bulk. So every week I cook up I've told you about this before, I cook up an enormous green soup, and as long as I get 5 meals out of that, then I know that I'm on track. I generally cook up like a venison stew or a bolognese or something, and again, as long as I get my entire week's meals out of it, that's generally on track. And what I do is I kind of take the overall amount of food in it and divide that up into the right number of meals to sort of to hit the level that I think I need to be at. So for example, with chicken, with the spreadsheet that I went through the other day, I'm on my sort of 168 to 170 grams of chicken a day. And that kind of works out as about 125 grams of chicken for over 5 meals. You know, each chunk of chicken needs to be about 125 grams. But instead of like sitting there with a packet of chicken and chopping them up and then chopping little tiny bits off it to make every single one of them 125 grams, what I do is I buy a bulk packet, and most of the times that comes out as about between 1,200 and 1,300 grams. So as long as I get 10 chunks out of that packet, I know that each of my meals is roughly on track. Now, here's the thing. You should always, if you are weighing your foods, particularly with your meats, you always need to weigh it raw. The reason being is because different cooking methods result in different amounts of food when you re-weigh it. So, for example, if you baked your chicken, you might end up with 110 grams of chicken on the scale out of a 125 gram piece of raw chicken. If you fry it, you might end up with, I don't know, let's say 90 grams of chicken. You'll end up with different amounts. If you grill it, you might end up with 100 grams of chicken. So if you weigh your food after you've cooked it, you run the risk of actually over-calculating your calculating, overeating. And a very good example of this is I had a lady over from the States, and she stayed with me for her competition, and I bought all of her food for her exactly based on the fact that I used raw weight. So I bought the amount of fish she needed based on the raw weights. And then she cooked it all up and started weighing it. And she said, "You haven't bought me enough food," because she weighed everything on the cooked weight. And what the amount of food I got her was enough for 10 meals, but what she ended up weighing was only enough for 6 meals. So she was actually overeating on her calories because she was weighing everything after her cooked weight. Like I say, I get up a big bulk thing of chicken, and as long as I get whatever my 10 meals out of it, then I know each meal is roughly on track. So I do everything in chunks. And I've got a video here now. I'll just go through this of how I set up my main salads. So I always use I use these nice blended salad blends, and that packet is something I think that packet is 300 grams. So as long as I get 4 meals out of it, I know I'm roughly on 75 grams of sort of mixed lettuce leaves. And you see there's like sort of 3 or 4 different sorts of lettuce there as well. This is also how I get variety of food in my diet. You can see there's 3 or 4 sorts of lettuce there. Now then I add a handful or a chunk of coleslaw, and this packet's about 400 grams. So as long as I get 5 meals out of that packet, again, I know I'm sort of, I'm roughly round about the sort of 60 to 70 grams of food. And you can see there's red cabbage, white cabbage, and carrot in there. So again, I'm now up to about 7 different sorts of foods. Balsamic vinegar, just put a big splash over it, and I had a smaller bottle that I worked out that each splash was coming out at about 5 mils, which is half a serving. So it's only about 6 calories, so it doesn't really matter. Then what I do is I put my nice hummus on it. This is what I use to give me a bit of flavouring, and my chunk is a teaspoon, and you can see it's quite a loaded teaspoon there. That does get smaller as cut calories again. When I'm sort of having to cut calories, I never cut the calories, or I never cut the amounts of the salad. So this is how I can always have a lot of food, because I never actually cut the salads. I always keep that because it's so low calorie anyway. And then I just start piling things on top. At the moment I consider I'm on 2 chunks of vegetables at the moment with the coleslaw and the lettuce. Then my chunk of broccoli is about 4 or 5 florets. And I just sort of shred stuff up. Now I've got some nice Brussels sprouts. They don't look so nice, but I love Brussels sprouts when they've been baked. And again, a chunk of Brussels sprouts is 4 Brussels sprouts. I don't know why, just four. Four just works well. Again, I get a 300-gram bag of sprouts, and if I use 4 per meal, then I can get 5 meals out of that bag. So, that's 75 grams of Brussels sprouts. Now this is my lovely kitchery. This is rice and quinoa. I've got a lovely lentil and bean soup mix in there. Then I've got some zucchini and asparagus in there. Now at the moment, because I'm actually relatively high carb, I'm having 2 dessert spoons. Now I actually don't have some sweet potato, but usually at the moment I'd be having a chunk of sweet potato on this as well. So these are where the chunks come in. So now when I'm cutting calories here, I can very simply, instead of having 2 dessert spoons of kitchery and 1 sweet potato, a cut of calories would be take the kitchery down to 1 teaspoon, also 1 spoon. Then I'd reduce it to no spoons, and I'd just have the sweet potato. Same thing with my almonds. I've got 10 almonds there. Now another cut might be change it to 5 almonds. This salad I'm making here, I have for 2 meals a day. So you can just by having these chunks, I can make 2 cuts of the almonds. So each of them is 10 almonds at the moment. So if I take it down to 5 on each, that's two cuts of calories. And the kitchery, I've got 2 dessert spoons and a sweet potato usually. So I can actually have another 4 calorie cuts by taking the kitchery down to 1 spoon, then no spoons, and then ultimately reducing the sweet potato. So I can actually get 8 calorie cuts on this same meal without changing the base salad. So this is how I make everything really, really easy to prepare. Is I have these core meals that I don't change, but I just add extra stuff onto the top in little chunks so that it's easy to ultimately cut. So that's how I stack my salads. Now, one of my team members bought me these beautiful, she's Lebanese, and she bought me these absolutely beautiful Lebanese dates. So for the next week, I'll be having 3 dates. Again, nice chunks, 3 dates instead of my sweet potato. Look, they're absolutely beautiful. And again, this is just something that I wouldn't usually have in my comp diet, but because my teammate and my colleague bought them for me, then, well, it'd be rude not to. Okay, so let's go on to my blood test results. I think there's 6 things to go through here, but I'll go through each of them in turn, and then what I'll do is I'll discuss what I'm going to do with my diet on the back of this, because as I think I've probably told you that, I believe food is medicine. Pretty much most preventable conditions can be sort of cured or treated or alleviated or made better through correct nutrition. And this is why I'm so big on focusing on my micronutrition, particularly when I'm on comp prep. What I've got here, so this one here is my immune system. All of these things are part of your immune system. And all of them, I'm glad to say, are absolutely bang on into the reference ranges, which is exactly as I expect. I kind of feel that I'm a bit bulletproof, really. I just don't get sick. And that's probably because I pay such good attention to my underlying nutrition, my micronutrients, my vitamins, my minerals. I can be at work in a huge office and everybody can go down with whatever the latest bug is that's going around, and I just don't get sick. It's because my immune system is so good here. Now you can see on this last one here, so that was November 2 years ago. Wow. Don't know what was quite going on there, but generally when you've got one of your sort of values sort of outside one of the ranges, it generally means that you're fighting off some sort of low grade infection or virus or something like that. So I was obviously fighting off some sort of little virus there. But right now I'm absolutely in tip-top shape, which is good and exactly as I expect or always expect. So moving on to my hormones, a lot of standard blood tests, particularly doctors, they will not test your hormones, and it drives me nuts because your hormones can really indicate where you're at. The whole time I was going through depression and stuff, not one doctor, despite me going around to lots and lots of different doctors, not one of them would test my estrogen or progesterone levels because they would always tell me, oh well, you're female, it changes every day, so there's no point. And this is what drives me nuts about the medical profession, is they're so sort of blinkered and I guess blind in some respects, and they're not prepared to believe somebody who's, particularly somebody like me who's an elite athlete. We're very, very aware of our bodies and we know when there's something not right. A lot of doctors are just not prepared to believe you. So, it kind of drives me nuts. Fortunately, I've got a very good doctor now who do actually test hormones, and it's very, very critical, because this is actually how I found out I hit menopause last year. And you can see from some previous tests, so this was 2016, you can see my estrogen was really, really tip top. And then this was May last year. Now, and this is when we figured out that I'd hit menopause, because if you look at the estradiol, I should say, postmenopausal people, generally it's going to be under 120. So you can see there's a very stark difference between not menopausal and menopausal. And this was the end of May, and this was pretty much last year when I decided to pull out of my comps, because I'd been on prep at this stage by 8 weeks and I'd only lost a kilo. So it just wasn't working. I was under a phenomenal amount of stress as well at the time, but this pretty much was what tipped me over the edge and decided that helped me decide to pull out of my competitions. And you can see that even then, it's even decreased further. There's a lot that I think I can do with diet, but it's an indication that, I guess, getting deeper into menopause. Now, what's weird though is my progesterone has shot up. Here it was when I pulled out of comp last time. Here it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was all pretty much, actually, it was still pretty low 2 years ago. That's interesting. But anyway, there you go. So it was still pretty low 2 years ago. Then we hit the menopausal one, where it really did sort of fall off the floor. And now, for some reason, I've got this massive imbalance between my progesterone and my estrogen levels. And what does it say here? No, I'm not on DHEA, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, there's my hormones, and you can see that my estrogen is completely flatlined. And that could be accounting for why I'm struggling at the moment to sort of lose weight. But I think there's things I could do with my diet to kind of alleviate that. So we'll get into that in a second. What have we got next? Testosterone. Reference range 0.4 to 2.1. Now, 2 years ago, I was kind of sort of on the lowish end. Then it picked up a bit, and then it dropped. And look, it seems to have stabilised. So I'm obviously sort of doing everything right there. So not really much to comment on that. I have never ever had a problem with low iron, and as you can see, again, absolutely all the way through, it's pretty much rock solid. Although what is weird is that it's dropping. So the trend is downwards. Now that is unusual. So I'll have to have a look at that. Like I say, I've never had a problem with my iron. And here's what's weird. I guess if I'm not having my menstrual cycle, you'd think that your iron levels would increase, because that's what actually causes a lot of women to have low iron levels, is this menstrual cycle. So might have to have a look at that. What else have we got? General chemistry. Now this is my kidney function. So this one here is my kidney function. And you can see back in May last year, I was under a hideous amount of stress. And you can kind of see that it was reflected in my kidney function as well. It has got better, but it's still a little off. So it does indicate potentially that there's a little bit of kidney stress still. Might have to have a look at something to do with that. But my liver function's actually come right back in. It obviously had a couple of times when it was out there, but now it's come right back into normal ranges. So that's looking really good. So yeah, look, maybe a little bit of a concern with my kidney function there. My doctor did say that it was due to hydration. Actually, we'll just go back to that one again. The doctor did say it was due to hydration levels. Could be partly due to hydration levels, but which makes this one even more weird because I was on full comp prep. I was drinking about 4 to 5 litres of water a day, so I really shouldn't have had any sort of hydration level issues. I'm actually drinking a lot less than that. I really haven't got on the ball with my drinking of water at the moment. I'm probably getting through about 3.5 to 4 litres of fluids a day. So I am a little bit down. So I don't understand why that level would have come in when I was on full hydration there, but the kidney function was a little bit off. Anyway, not quite sure what's going on there, but at least it's going in the right direction. Then we've got my thyroid function. Now, on the surface, looks good. Although my thyroid stimulating hormone is a little low. You can see the range should be right up to 5. So I'm kind of on the low end, which would account for why my metabolism is what I think is probably about 15% off where it should be. But what's interesting is although I'm producing, you can see over the space of 2 years, I'm producing more T4 from my thyroid. So my thyroid is producing more T4 than 2 years ago. However, it's converting less of it into T3. And that is what the crucial part of this is. This is why the standard thyroid blood test that you get at a doctor's is not good enough. It doesn't tell you what's going on. So your thyroid stimulating hormone levels can be completely normal, as mine apparently are, although they're albeit on the low side. But what you really need to look at, and this is why when I ask my clients to get their blood tests, I always insist them that they get the T3 and T4, because how much you can be producing all the right amount of thyroid stimulating hormone, you can be producing the right amount of T4, but if your body is not converting it to the metabolically active T3, you could still be hypothyroidic. And you can see that over the space of 2 years, there is a little bit of decline in how well I'm actually using my T4. So although it says I'm perfectly normal, there are things that I'm going to do with my diet to see if I can change that. All right, so that's where we're at with my blood tests. So what does that mean for my diet? Well, because my estrogen, I've got this progesterone estrogen imbalance, I need to try and fix it up. Now, clearly my body is not producing estrogen. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to focus on eating more foods that mimic estrogen, that contain phytoestrogens, that have estrogen mimicking properties. And these are exactly the foods that I, on my menopause program, that I get all my ladies to focus on, and it's been giving them some great results, particularly in terms of symptom reduction. But what I get them to do is focus on phytoestrogenic foods. So what I did is I created a list of all of the phytoestrogenic foods, and if I just take out the gaps, then you can see what those are. Okay. So here's a list of phytoestrogenic foods: alfalfa, almonds. Now, almonds I eat a lot of, I've just started eating almonds. Black beans, I don't eat much. Licorice, I can't stand. Broccoli, yes, I eat an awful lot of broccoli. Cabbage, I eat every day. Chickpeas, when I have hummus, I eat that every day. Dill, I don't particularly like. Collard greens are very hard to get, so I don't tend to eat many of those. Dried apricots, don't really eat many of those. I am eating dates right now because my lovely colleague has brought me some beautiful Lebanese dates. So I am going to be eating dates for the next couple of weeks, which is awesome. Fennel seeds, yes, I use those a lot. Flax seeds, I generally try and eat those every day, as with garlic. Green beans I have every day in my green soup. Green tea I eat every day. Hazelnuts, I don't tend to eat hummus. Yes, when I'm eating, now that I'm off the ketogenic diet, I am going to be adding my hummus back in. Lentils, now that I'm again off ketogenic and I'm having my khichdi, lentils form the base of this beautiful khichdi dish that I just showed you on my salad. Miso, yes, sometimes I make miso marinated salmon, which is just beautiful. Mung beans I don't tend to eat. Yes, olive oil I cook with. Parsley I don't eat much. Peaches, peanut butter, and pistachios I don't even eat much. Quinoa, yes, I have that in my khichdi. Red clover, I do have some red clover, so I'm going to start making some tea. Sage, yes, I use that a bit. Sesame seeds, tend not to use those, although those are also in hummus, so I probably am eating quite a lot of those. Now, soybeans, I tend not to eat anything to do with soy. Split peas I have in my khichdi, so I'm eating plenty of that. Strawberries, now that I'm off ketogenic, I'll probably start having some more strawberries. Tempeh tofu, I just don't like them. Walnuts, don't particularly like them. And white beans, I don't particularly like them. So out of that list of phytoestrogenic foods, I'm actually eating a fair number of them, which is really good. So I'm really going to make sure that I focus on those. So let's put that back. Now, for the thyroid, there are foods that you can eat to boost your thyroid. So again, I listed out all of the foods that you can eat to boost your thyroid. And with your thyroid, there's a number of key vitamins and minerals that you need to focus on. Iodine, which you can get from seaweed, fish, dairy, and eggs. I do eat a lot of eggs, so that's great. Zinc, which you can get from spinach, almonds, wild salmon, pumpkin, and chia seeds, and chicken. Now, I eat a ton of chicken, so I should be getting plenty of zinc, and I eat spinach every day, so I should be getting, so my zinc should all be covered. Omega-3, again, salmon, and I supplement fish oil every day, so I'm definitely getting my omega-3 in. Vitamin D, I haven't been supplementing with that, but you do get in egg yolks. This is why egg yolks are very, very critical on comp diet, because it's got vitamin D, and that's like an active element in probably about 1,000 metabolic processes, including building muscles, maintaining bone strength, and losing weight. So you must pay attention to your vitamin D, and that's why you really should eat egg yolks. Legumes, it's in my khichdi dish, so that's great. Hazelnuts are great for vitamin D, sardines and salmon. I was eating a fair bit of sardines actually on the keto diet, so my vitamin D should be quite good. Now, with thyroid, a lot of people say you can't eat cruciferous vegetables, and that's total crap. That's really come about based on a single study done in 1945 on a Chinese woman who ate about 3.3 pounds of bok choy every day, and it messed up her thyroid. So cruciferous vegetables are okay if you have a thyroid issue. You might want to just moderate it just in case. But to say that you can't eat cruciferous vegetables like your broccoli, your kale, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts, those kinds of things, when you're paying attention to your thyroid, is complete crap. Okay, so I eat plenty of cruciferous vegetables. Now, vitamin E is also essential, so I can get those from almonds, dark leafy greens, avocados. I've been eating a lot of those as well, and olives and olive oil. So vitamin E I've got covered. Vitamin K2, which you get from eggs, particularly the yolk. Another reason that you should eat the yolks. Iron, like I say, my iron was a little bit low, so I might want to be putting a bit more beef and red meat into my diet. I haven't been eating a huge amount of that. I haven't been eating a huge amount of quinoa or lentils, but now that I'm back on the khichdi, I can certainly increase my iron levels through those foods. Vitamin B, spinach, pistachios, eggs. Are you getting the thing about eggs here? Salmon and tuna. So, yeah, look, I've pretty much got my vitamin Bs covered. And then vitamin C, I don't supplement with vitamin C, although it's in broccoli and strawberries. I have been I always eat a lot of broccoli. I eat that every day. I haven't been eating a lot of strawberries, so I might increase my strawberries. And then there's another element that's quite important for your thyroid called tyrosine. It provides a structural foundation for thyroid hormone creation. So I am going to start supplementing with tyrosine. So overall, those are the sort of foods that I'm paying attention to. So I'm actually already doing an awful lot of things right. But what I did is I made up this little, I'm a bit of a geek with numbers and spreadsheets and things. So I made up a little spreadsheet of a combination of the thyroid-friendly foods and my phytoestrogenic foods. And where the two lists match, these are the foods that I'm really, really going to prioritize. So you can see I've got almonds. Yes, I'm eating almonds now. Broccoli, I eat every day. That's great. Flax seeds, I eat every day. Lentils, yes, I'm definitely going to be having those now in my kitchery. Squash, I can add that into my kitchery as well. Strawberries, I'll start eating strawberries. And like I say, with walnuts, I don't particularly like them. So that's where my blood tests are at. And or at least I'm going to try and sort of make some changes to both my thyroid function and my estrogenic levels through my diet. Now, I've got blood tests in 8 weeks. So, like I say, I'm going to really focus on these foods, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in 8 weeks. So that's what I'm doing with my diet. And then overall with my diet, again, because I'm still not in a huge amount of deficit, I am going to just do a tiny little shave of my diet again. Now, in the video with my creating my food, I did say that I was having two dessert spoons of the kitchery and a chunk of sweet potato on my post-workout meal and my lunch. What I'm going to do this week is, for my lunch, I'm just going to take out 1 dessert spoon of the kitchery. So it's a tiny little change. It's only about 25 calories, but it's a tiny little change. I'll just start shaving my carbs now. So that's the changes I'm going to make. And now let's get on to the photographs. So I'll just put up the photographs. You can see my front. I think I'm starting to look really quite nice and shapely through the shoulders, and then the sides, maybe just a hint of obliques, although you can see just a hint of glute muscles in one of them, which is great. And then my back is still not really showing. So look, I think there are some changes just about occurring, but obviously we'll keep going. So that's been a lot to get through today. So I've covered my diet, we've covered my blood tests, and we've done the photographs. So I think we'll leave it there for now. You have a good week, and I will talk to you next week.